Your eyes open spiritual doors to your life. Job chapter 31 verse 1. I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a young woman. Job had a problem with his eyes. He had a problem with his eyes so much so that he had to make a covenant with his eyes. This is a man who is described as a perfect, upright, and blameless man. This is a man that God bragged about. This is a man God was pleased with. And yet, he had a problem with his eyes. So much so, in order to deal with that problem, he had to make a covenant with his eyes. Look how the Bible describes this man of God. Job chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. 1. He was perfect. 2. He was upright. 3. He feared God. 4. He eschewed evil. Yet being all these 4 things, he still had a problem with his eyes. 1. He was perfect. 2. He was upright. 3. He feared God. 4. He eschewed evil. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not weird or strange or a fake Christian because you have a problem with your eyes. That is normal. That is the flesh, the sinful flesh your soul and spirit lives in. However, you have to make a covenant with your eyes just like Job in order to deal with the problem of your eyes. Every one of us falls victim to the challenge Job had. So I ask you today, are you willing to confess to God that you have a problem with your eyes? I openly confess that I, just like Job, have a problem with my eyes. Are you willing to confess that, or do you have too much pride to do so? This is why I love the Bible, and I know the Bible is truly the Word of God. Firstly, I love the Bible because it is honest and reveals the true human condition. Secondly, I know the Bible was written by the Spirit of God because if a man wrote this out on his own will and his own mind, mankind would make themselves look like the hero and perfect. However, the Bible is full of normal men and women used by God, normal men and women with failures and faults. Any man that does not adopt the discipline of Job will mess himself up, especially in this extremely corrupt generation. Any woman that does not adopt the discipline of Job will mess herself up, especially in this extremely corrupt generation. Take accountability for your eyes. You are in control. You are in charge. Your eyes will get you in trouble. I have seen people's eyes get them into unimaginable trouble. All of the sins regarding sexual immorality all start with the eyes. Isn't it heartbreaking seeing what families have to go through because of the eyes? It's heartbreaking. I am not condemning anyone. I am just speaking the truth. I have pastored men and women who genuinely love their families. They genuinely love their wife. They genuinely love their husband, but they never made a covenant with their eyes. And one thing led to another, and they committed adultery. But that is the flesh. And I have seen the hurt and the sorrow and heartbreak and pain of a husband whose wife cheated on him. I have seen the hurt and the sorrow and the heartbreak and pain of a wife whose husband cheated on her. Lovely families breaking up because one person hadn't learned to discipline their flesh. Learn from Job and make a covenant with your eyes. I have counseled youths who had a problem with their eyes so much so they were living promiscuous lives, just bed hopping from one person to the other, not because they want to, but because they couldn't control the lust that had entered into their life. They don't want to cheat on their wife, but they can't stop. Why? Lust is driving them. They don't want to cheat on their husband, but they can't stop. They don't want to be used by another man, but they can't stop. Why? Lust is dictating their decisions. They want to stop fornicating, but they can't because they are living in the flesh. Today is the day for you to take accountability and begin to make war against lust. And I tell you this, you will never ever win the war on lust unless you can do this one and simple thing: make a covenant with your eyes. Take accountability and make a war against lust. Begin today by monitoring what you watch. Monitor what you look at. Don't expose yourself to filth. Don't desensitize yourself to sin. This world is constantly attempting to desensitize people to sin. What some people walk on the street wearing is not normal. What they show in some movies is not normal. But all this stuff is to desensitize you to sin, to make sin the norm. And it all comes back to this one area. It all comes back to this one simple area of your eyes. What are you watching on television? What are you watching on your computer? What are you watching on your mobile phone? What are you looking at when you are walking the streets? To make a covenant with your eyes not to look lustfully at a woman or man does not mean you walk through the world with your eyes closed. That is not practical. But when you see yourself look lustfully at someone or something, get a grip of yourself. Don't allow yourself and your mind to begin to wander in your imagination, fantasizing. To make a covenant with your eyes means you cannot just watch anything on TV or films. It means you filter what you watch. It means you are very selective about the things that you watch. Lust always begins with the eyes. I think we need the discipline of Job in our time, more than it was needed in their time. Any way you go nowadays, you are just bombarded with the lust of the eyes. Shops, colleges, airports. Both Christian men and women need to discipline their eyes. We must make a covenant with our eyes. Jesus knew what it implies if we will have to fight the battle of our sight in order to overcome immoral sins, when he said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 29, "And if thy right eye offended thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell." Jesus does not mean that we should blindfold our physical eyes. He was referring to the spiritual discipline to which we must place our eyes. Instead of giving pleasure to your eyes by watching pornographic videos, it is better to deny your eyes than to have the whole of your body cast into hell. Dear husband, you are only to have eyes for your wife. Dear wife, you are only to have eyes for your husband. If David had satisfied himself with his wives, he wouldn't have brought so much troubles upon his life that he experienced. After fighting a lot of battles, he had no peace in his home because of his lust. The consequences of not disciplining our eyes outweigh the pleasures we think we will derive by giving pleasure to them. As a man, when you begin to look outside your home for another woman, then you are set to pierce your heart with a lifetime of sorrow. The Bible already establishes that the reward of immorality is wounds and dishonor. We must discipline our eyes before it gets us in trouble. David saw a woman taking her bath while he was at the housetop, and he couldn't look away. He processed that thought in his heart until that singular sight led him into adultery and murder. Although David had several wives at the time, lust of the eye would not allow him to be satisfied with his wives. What was it that Bathsheba had that the wives of David do not possess? But people who cannot discipline themselves on what they watch will eventually end up acting foolish and putting themselves in big troubles. Your eyes can put you in trouble, but before they do, you can stop them. It is amazing how Jesus connected what we do with our sight with fornication and adultery in Matthew chapter 5, verses 27 through 28, which says, "Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart." In the Old Testament, the law only prosecuted those that are caught in the act of adultery or fornication or other forms of immorality. Back then, if an adulterer is not caught with evidence, then he or she is free from the law. Again, in the Old Testament, there was nothing said about the lust of the eyes, which is the foundation for the committal of sexual sins. However, Jesus came to add to this law by saying that a person is not only guilty when he or she indulges in the very act of sexual immorality, but that heaven takes into account the very moment he or she begins to look lustfully at a woman or man, as the case may be. So sexual immorality is birthed, first of all, by a lustful sight. Clearly, Jesus knows something that we did not know about. No one can commit sexual immorality in his or her heart without first of all having a lustful sight. You have an eyelid so that you can shut your eyes from evil sights. The decision to look at or look away is always yours and mine, and we are going to give account for what we do with that liberty.